It's 23 days, 15 hours, 59 minutes to the presidential elections. While many have their eyes fixated on the new date, the twists and turns continue to pop up. Well, Young Democratic Party is the newest entrant into the political space, and that's official. So, will INEC print new ballot papers? Well, all will be revealed in a matter of time. Good evening. Welcome to the program. I'm Chamberlain Oso. While preparations for the general elections continue, more court verdicts are still being handed down. Well, many of the cases need to be dispensed with before long. How is it playing out in other areas? Well, as always, we'll make our rounds with some of our correspondents who will bring us up to the minute with happenings at their location. All right, we'll sort that out in a minute. Well, our web team will also provide several platforms for you to air your views on the program. So what you can do is you can tweet at us using the hashtag Nigeria2015. You can also send us comments and emails at chamberlainoso@channelstv.com. Well, don't forget that you can also use the hashtag Nigeria2015 and now this, demand debate now. Well, please use the Twitter handle you see on your screen at the moment. Well, if you have comments or questions, do send us an email, and that will be Nigeria2015@channelstv.com. But you can also send us pictures through our Eyewitness platform, and here's how you do that. Just download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS, and Windows phones. Just tap the application you see on the platform to show the Eyewitness menu, and then follow the instructions you see there. Well, joining us tonight, Mr. Sam Omatseye. He's the chairman, editorial board of the Nation newspapers, and a columnist. Well, now, this is something that has been spoken about over time. It's something that people like to stamp out in our polity. It's got to do with violence. I mean, a lot of talk has happened over time. Let me run you through some of the materials, the facts and figures that we've come through over time. Remember in 2011, when after the elections at that time, there was this violence that occurred, and then there was a panel that was put in place, which was led by Sheikh Ahmed Lemu. His committee went ahead to ascertain what actually caused some of those violence with a view to sorting all of those out. So in that report, which was eventually submitted, I think about 6-7 months thereafter, a certain part of it was then adopted by the federal government. But in that report, he did say, there was this quote in that report where it was mentioned that hate and inflammatory speech is a major predisposing factor in violence. It was a very heavy, voluminous report which he published at that time. And then there were also this recommendation that they had to set up, or they were to set up, a special election offences tribunal to sort some of this out. Perhaps they thought if that were the case, bringing people to justice may just serve as a deterrent to some others who may want to follow suit. But then we'll talk about that also as time goes on. But then only recently, the National Human Rights Commission did a study which they titled Incidents of Election Violence During Campaigns and Elections. And then it was between the 3rd of January 2014 and the 31st of, the 3rd of December 2014 and 31st January 2015. They came up with quite a number of findings, and then they also did harp on some aspects of the Lemu report where they did also cite that part of hate speech, which also causes this violence, because hate speech, there's a violence predicated on hate speech, and when people make this kind of comment, people always will react to it. And as a matter of fact, there you go, what you see there in the run-up to those elections, they say that does not exactly go well for the country. But you know, after this NHRC report, which was published at the time, Lots of comments have been making the rounds in our politics today. It was only recently, in fact, it's been all over the news how the vice presidential candidate of the APC, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, threatened a legal action against Mr. Femi Fani-Kayode for what he terms defamation of his person. Now, after that, almost immediately, while Professor Yemi Osinbajo did say that the Director of Media and Publicity of the People's Democratic Party's campaign organization himself, Mr. Femi Fani-Kayode, on his own part, also threatened to sue the National Publicity Secretary of the APC, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, over what he also termed defamation. So the brickbat just going back and forth amongst them concerning who is saying what and how they intend to deal with it. So in spite of all of those peace accords, several of them that have been signed, this kind of comment and this kind of reaction still making the rounds. You know what they say, actions and reactions equal and opposite. Well, it wasn't just Sheikh Ahmed Limu's report that had been with a view to sorting election issues out. There's been several others, as a matter of fact. If you go back in time, there's a list of some of those. Look at that. You had the Babalakin Judicial Commission of Inquiry into Bauchi State civil disturbances. And then we also had Justice Karibi Wise Judicial Commission of Inquiry into Kafanchan disturbances. And then you had Nikki Toby's Judicial Commission of Inquiry into Plateau State disturbances. Justice Sankey's Judicial Commission of Inquiry into Wase and Langtang disturbances. And then the list is endless about many of these committees, recommendations, panels that have come up with all of those with a view to all seeing how they could sort the challenge out. But as we speak, in the run-up to these elections, so much comments is being made or are being made today, to the extent that the National Human Rights Commission also targeting anyone who makes any of these comments with a view saying, look, we will deal with some of these matters and see how far we can go. They did say as much that the police themselves are doing something and we should give them credit. But that we will talk about. But you do remember the peace accords that was signed with some politicians are still being signed, as a matter of fact. It all started with that was done with the presidential candidates. They were in Abuja. But then, now let's let you listen to some of the comments that were made by, remember, former Commonwealth scribe, Chief Emeka Anyaoku. And then you also had the former NBA President, Joseph Daudu, speaking up on the same matter, how to avert electoral violence. Take a look.
The country's unity in diversity must not be undermined by campaigns that seek to exploit either of our two major national fault lines, ethnicity and religion. Any injudicious introduction of these two factors into the contestation for votes in any part of the country would be bound to stoke up